Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at First Solar. This is a company that manufactures photovoltaic solar panels, and their main customer is utilities. They aren't really involved with those rooftop solar panels you'll see on people's houses. First Solar is just entirely focused on utilities. Right here I've got First Solar's most recent annual report pulled up, and we're just going to read through this real quick before getting into some of the financial information on the company. They start off by saying they're a leading American solar technology company and a global provider of photovoltaic solar energy solutions. Developed at our research and development labs in California and Ohio, we manufacture and sell photovoltaic solar modules with an advanced thin film semiconductor technology that provides a high-performance, lower-carbon alternative to conventional crystalline silicon photovoltaic solar modules. From raw material sourcing through end-of-life module recycling, we are committed to reducing the environmental impacts and enhancing the social and economic benefits of our products across their life cycle. We are the world's largest thin-film photovoltaic solar module manufacturer and the largest photovoltaic solar module manufacturer in the Western Hemisphere. Our current module's semiconductor structure is a single-junction polycrystalline thin film that uses cadmium telluride as the absorption layer. Cadmium telluride has absorption properties that are well matched to the solar spectrum and can deliver competitive wattage using approximately 2 to 3% of the amount of semiconductor material used to manufacture conventional crystalline silicon modules. In terms of performance, in many climates our solar modules provide certain energy production advantages relative to competing crystalline silicon modules. For example, our cadmium telluride solar technology provides a superior temperature coefficient, which results in stronger system performance in a typical high insolation climates, as the majority of a system's generation on average occurs when module temperatures are well above 25 degrees Celsius in standard test conditions. They also provide a superior spectral response in humid environments where atmospheric moisture alters the solar spectrum relative to standard test conditions, a better spatial shading response than competing crystalline silicon technologies, which may experience significantly lower energy generation than cadmium telluride solar technologies when partial shading occurs, and an immunity to cell cracking and its resulting power output loss, a common failure often observed in crystalline silicon modules caused by poor manufacturing, handling, weather, or other conditions. They also warrant that their solar modules will produce at least 98% of their labeled power output rating during the first year, with the warranty coverage reducing by a degradation factor between 0.3% and 0.5% depending on the module series every year thereafter throughout the limited power output warranty period of up to 30 years. Now before we move on, I'd like to highlight some of the disadvantages to this thin film cadmium telluride technology that First Solar is using. One of the drawbacks is that these thin film modules just haven't been around for as long as traditional crystalline silicon modules, so there just hasn't been as much real-world experience using these thin film modules. Because of that, the long-term durability of thin film modules is just not quite as proven out as it is for crystalline silicon modules. Another drawback to First Solar's technology is that they aren't as efficient at converting that sunlight into electricity as traditional crystalline silicon modules are. The result of that is you'll need more panels and more land to produce the same amount of energy you would otherwise be getting from crystalline silicon modules. Now the other side of this is that these cadmium telluride modules they're producing are substantially cheaper to manufacture because they only use 2 to 3% of the amount of semiconductor material. So First Solar's modules will require more land, but have a lower upfront cost of manufacturing the panels than traditional crystalline silicon modules. Moving on to their manufacturing process, they say their modules combine their leading-edge cadmium telluride technology with the manufacturing excellence and quality control that comes with being the world's most experienced producer of thin-film photovoltaic solar modules. With more than 50 gigawatts of modules sold worldwide, we have a demonstrated history of manufacturing success and innovation. Our global manufacturing footprint includes facilities in the United States, Malaysia, and Vietnam. We are in the process of expanding our manufacturing capacity by approximately 11 gigawatts, including the construction of our third manufacturing facility in the United States, which commenced commercial production of modules in early 2023. Our first manufacturing facility in India, which is expected to commence operations in the second half of 2023, and their 4th manufacturing facility in the United States, which is expected to commence operations in late 2024, and the expansion of our manufacturing footprint at our existing facilities in Ohio. Our newest factories in the United States and in India are expected to produce our next generation Series 7 modules, which combine our thin film cadmium telluride technology with a larger form factor and an innovative steel back rail mounting structure that reduces module installation time. Moving on to First Solar's financials, I've got their second quarter income statement pulled up right here. You'll see net sales of $810.6 million and cost of sales at $500.3 million. Now, you'll notice that the net sales are up about 30.5% from where they were a year ago, whereas those cost of sales are down quite substantially. Now, I'm going to have to do more research on this, but it looks like the $644 million of cost of sales they reported in 2022 was kind of an outlier. If you look at their first quarter report, you'll see that those cost of sales grew year over year, so I wouldn't expect this number to continually decline from where it was the previous year, so it looks like this number was kind of an outlier. First Solar's gross profit was $310.4 million, which gives them a gross margin of around 38%, which is pretty good. Then they've got selling general and administrative expenses at $46.3 million. That's up year over year. They've got research and development expenses at $36.7 million, also up year over year. Production startup costs at $23.3 million, also up pretty substantially year over year. This ties into some of the new facilities they've been building. Then there's litigation loss at $35.6 million. This is kind of a one-time expense, I believe, there. Then they've got total operating expenses of $142 million, which, these are the total of all of these operating expenses here. Then they had gain on sale of businesses of just $135,000, also seemingly a one-time expense. And in total, their operating income was $168.5 million, which was up again year over year. And currently, that operating margin is sitting at around 20%, I believe. They did also have a loss on foreign currency of $4.7 million, interest income of $25 million, interest expense of $1.4 million, and other income of almost $1 million. So First Solar's total net income was $170.6 million for the second quarter this year. Moving on to their balance sheet, you'll see they've got cash of $830 million. This is down from where it was a year ago, and it's even down from where it was at the first quarter this year. Of course, we just saw on the income statement that their business is profitable, so this is basically just cash that's moving onto other portions of this balance sheet, other assets here, and we'll see that as we go down. They also have marketable securities of just over $1 billion. That is down about $43 million from where it was a year ago, but overall, not a whole lot changed there. Their accounts receivable has gone up quite a lot, almost doubling there year over year, right now at $631 million. That is one of the places that this cash has flowed to. Their accounts receivable unbilled is at $37 million, also up a bit over the past year. And then their inventories also up quite a lot from where it was the previous year at $756.2 million. Then they've got other current assets, which are at $352 million, also up quite a lot year over year. And then total current assets are at $3.66 billion. Moving down to their long-term assets, they've got property, plant, and equipment. They've been investing quite heavily in this over the past year with all of these new production facilities they've been building. So that's currently at $4 billion. Then there's deferred tax assets at $126 million. Restricted marketable securities at $194 million. Government grants receivable, $225 million. They didn't have any of that reported here 1 year ago. Then there's goodwill at $28 million. That has increased a bit. They have made a couple of acquisitions, I believe, this past year. Then there's intangible assets at $70 million. Inventories at $257 million. You'll notice that there is inventories also listed up here, so I guess these are long-term inventories. And then there's other assets at $414 million. So overall, First Solar has total assets of $8.997, just nearly $9 billion of total assets. Moving further down to their current liabilities, they've got accounts payable at $246 million, income taxes payable at $29 million, accrued expenses at $303 million, deferred revenue at $390 million, and other current liabilities at $122 million. So they've got total current liabilities at just over $1 billion. Then there's accrued solar module collection and recycling liability, which is fairly unique to First Solar. Not every company has that on their balance sheet. That's at $132 million. Then there's long-term debt at $437.4 million, deferred revenue at $1.15 billion, other liabilities at $140.2 million, and they've got total liabilities of almost $3 billion right there. First Solar also has a very solid book value of just over $6 billion. That's calculated by taking those total liabilities and subtracting it from those total assets. So with that and everything we're seeing here on the balance sheet, as well as on the income statement, it looks like First Solar is in a pretty good spot financially. Now here's First Solar's most recent guidance for the full year of 2023. Right now they're guiding for between $3.4 to $3.6 billion in net sales, $1.2 to $1.3 billion of gross margin, $450 to $475 million in operating expenses, $745 to $870 million in operating income, $7 to $8 of earnings per share, $1.5 to $1.8 billion of net cash balance at the end of the year, $1.7 to $1.9 billion of capital expenditures throughout the year, and then a volume sold of 11.8 gigawatts to 12.3 gigawatts. First Solar's market cap is just over $22 billion. Their stock has pretty much doubled over the past year. They've got a trailing price to earnings of 142.7, forward price to earnings of 27.4, PEG ratio of 1.5, price to sales at 7.4, and price to book of 3.7. I don't own any First Solar stock right now, but that might change in the near future. I'd like to do some more research on some of these other companies that are in the solar industry just to see how everything compares better before I go ahead and buy one of these. Be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what your thoughts are on First Solar, and I'll see all of you in the next video.